Welcome to Financial Confidence for High-Achieving Women, the go-to podcast for women of color entrepreneurs overwhelmed by their finances and ready to transform their money mindset, take control of their money, and build sustainable wealth. I'm your host, Taryn, better known as T-Money, certified financial coach and CEO of Money Honey LLC. I believe that abundance is your birthright and that good money management doesn't mean cutting out the joy from your life. Stick around to learn how you can build intentional money habits that align with your biggest lifestyle goals. Let's get into today's episode. What if you didn't have to constantly cut expenses from your budget to reach your goals? Hey y'all, hey, welcome to episode 2 of the Financial Confidence for High Achieving Women podcast. I'm your host, Taryn, better known as T-Money, and today we'll be talking about why my coaching method focuses primarily on expansion. Let's get into this one. I honestly love this debate, and it's often a hot topic in the personal finance space, it seems, because a lot of like, I would say the more like well-known personal finance folks that maybe a lot of us even, grew up hearing about or listening to, they really talk about cutting expenses, or just like if you're dealing with any sort of financial thing, it's like the first thing you should do is cut expenses and really like get very minimal on your budget. And while that does have a space and you can cut some expenses, I am a firm believer in focusing more of your attention on expansion. And so when you focus on cutting expenses, it really starts to create some negative feelings about money, and it leads you to developing a scarcity mindset that you have to hold on to as much money as possible in order for it to be quote unquote safe, right? And that is what happens when we're like, okay, money feels a little bit tight. And instead of addressing like why money feels tight for you, or, how it may have gotten there and some of the habits that may have led you there, it's just like, okay, let's cut out everything. Let's cut out all the fun. And that does is when you start to have the growth in the amount of income that you are earning, and just even in the amount of income that you're receiving, it will start to feel like, okay, I need to just hold on to this. Like, even if, that I have more than enough and I can, easily and comfortably pay all of my bills, I can, really start to travel the way I want to. You start to feel like, no, maybe I really just need to save it instead, because that's what a lot of the education is out there, is like, just cut everything, and it just ends up affecting you later. And so usually the approach that I take with clients is that if we're cutting expenses, it's because you really want to cut them and because it's not serving you. When we focus on the expansion, that means that we really start to understand that your abundance is available to you whenever you would like to access it. And usually if we are not able to access the abundance that is our birthright, that is, just always available to us, it means that there's something there, usually within mindset, usually within, some things that you are storing or haven't processed or haven't dealt with before, that you need to handle in order to access the abundance in the way that you want to. And so, you can begin to trust yourself that more money is coming and you have the power to bring more your way. And so a lot of the work that I do with clients is to get into that trust factor, to start to understand, how can I trust myself and create more experiences and opportunities to trust myself with money, to trust myself with being able to hold more money, to be able to like see our account in the hundreds of thousands and be okay with that, right? And not feel like, oh, I need to go spend this as soon as possible, or like, oh, I need to go spend the money right now. A lot of that is coming from previous experiences that you've had or things that you've witnessed, and just that feeling of uncertainty and lack of safety. And so when we start to truly focus on the expansion part, we're focusing on all of the ways that money can come to us. yes, there are things that we can cut, like I said before, but what are all of the ways that money can come to us? And I encourage you to, ponder on that a little bit, like journal around it. Think about what are some ways that money has already come to me in the past, even, and what are more ways that money can come to me now? Maybe it's an idea that you have. Maybe it's an inheritance of some sort. Maybe it's somebody who owed you money from years ago that's going to like pull up and now want to give you your money back. I don't know, right? It can come in any way, shape, or form. All of a sudden you have a client that, wants to purchase your highest coaching package. And now more money is coming to you. Like you have more of it available to you. And so there are ways that you can start to think of those things. And I did kind of want to go back a little bit on the cutting expenses part. In case you might have heard that part about like negative feelings, like how does that really create those negative feelings? I want to dive a little deeper into how that creates some scarcity, because I do believe that it's important to understand that connection. And so when it starts to teach you that when you're dealing with the unknown, when things feel scary when it comes to your finances, maybe you've experienced an income dip. I know I have, and that has, caused a little bit of stress, right? When you start to make those decisions from that place of stress, you are now operating in that desperation energy. And I don't know if you've heard that term before, but it means like when you start to operate in the desperation energy, it means that you're kind of just like in a panicked state of just figuring out how to solve the problem as quickly as possible. And so instead of thinking about what you truly want to do or what value you can truly add, you're just thinking about, okay, how can I resolve this financial problem in front of me right now? And while that is helpful in terms of survival for a period of time, it does not help you in the long term. And that's how you start to create that space of the feast or famine energy when it comes to your money. So not only does it mean that like, it starts to make you feel almost like anxious at all times when it comes to money. So you start to have those feelings of anxiety when you start to receive a lot of money. And then you're also going to have those feelings of anxiety when you start to, spend a lot of money or when it seems like your balances are low. And so if you're always in that anxious state, it's not going to help you to feel good about any of the money that is coming to you and any of the money that you have. And so that is primarily why we want to focus on that expansion part. Because those sorts of negative feelings, they don't just magically go away with the amount of money you have. As I just said, with like that anxiety can still pop up. And so when we start to focus on that expansion, it starts to create those positive experiences with money of like, okay, like, yeah, it doesn't matter what's happening. More money can always come my way. And it's always available to me when I tap into the thought processes and the energy that I get to have around the money that I desire. And so I also want to tell you about one of my clients, Morgan. She was furnishing her new apartment, and we were starting to get into her budget, her finances, all that good stuff. And she no longer wanted to be in that space of constriction. And while she was focused on furnishing the new space, she was also, going out pretty often, with friends and coworkers and all that good stuff. And she started to realize as we were working together that she was going to those things because she felt like she had to, and not always because she wanted to. And even when she did go, right, she's such a generous person. So she, of course, is, like buying drinks for folks and, paying for meals and everything. And so that was taking away from her goal of furnishing, her apartment. And so we could have approached it in one way of like looking at all the expenses and being like, all right, you got to stop going out and you got to cut this out and you got to cut that out. But what that would have done, right, is create this feeling of I'm not allowed to have fun in order to have more money, or I'm not allowed to live my life in the way that I want to in order to have more money. And that's not the type of feeling that we wanted to create. And so what we did instead is we expanded on her, vision for what she wanted in terms of furnishing that apartment. So we set up a schedule in which she would start to like invest in different pieces to furnish that, because that was something that was so exciting and important to her. We also talked about her love of fashion and like getting different pieces every season, that highlight her love for fashion and the different trends and things that are going on. And so we expanded both of her furniture and her fashion budgets, and we lessened what no longer excited her. So as I said, she eventually realized that she was going to a lot of those social events out of obligation and not out of true desire. And so because of that, she was able to cut it down. Now, did that mean that we cut that expense completely? No. It meant that we lessened and put like, a little bit of a boundary around it. So it was a particular amount that she had that she could rock with for the month, and then at that point it was like, okay, once all of that is spent, then that's it. Like, that's it for the month. She's not going out anymore that month. That's what she decided and wanted to do, right? That's what it's about. It's not feeling like she had to sacrifice all joy in her life in order to reach her financial goals, in order to, do the things that truly excite her. And so, by lessening that amount there, she was able to feel guilt-free about going to, the different stores that she loved in order to shop for some new fashion items. Because even before we started working together, she was feeling guilty about those shopping trips because it was like, oh, like I'm spending all of this money all of a sudden, right? And as we started to work through, there were those, the points about like doing things out of obligation, which were causing her to spend money that she didn't truly want to spend. And we started focusing it and intentionally placing it in two spaces that brought her more joy, that brought her more value. And money became something that she did not want to avoid or run away from. It became something that felt easier to talk about and easier to deal with. And so, basically we want to focus on the expansion over simply cutting expenses as soon as there is a financial problem or a situation, or just to reach a goal. It doesn't even have to be a problem. It could just be, in order to reach this goal, we get to focus on expansion. And that is what leads to abundance. And that's the same thing, that Morgan found as well. And so the action step that I have for you today in this episode is I want you to list 10 things you can do to bring in more money right now. Okay. So ask yourself where you want to experience more abundance in your life and map it out and see how you can make it a reality. All right. You are totally capable and worthy of having all of the abundance that you desire, having all of the money that you desire in your life. So that way you can, pay for the experiences and the things that excite you. And so in the next couple of episodes, we are going to talk about some very exciting things. So talking about, do I save or pay off debt first? Or can I do both at the same time? I'm excited to get into that episode. And we're also going to talk about, advice on what your financial goals should be, quote unquote. So get excited and tune in to those episodes. If you're ready to take control of your finances like the rich bitch you are, I invite you to book a 90-minute Organize Your Money Honey intensive with me. You'll walk away with a crystal clear financial plan, a budget you'll actually stick to, and actionable steps to start saving and investing faster. Head to the link in the show notes to book your spot. So I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Financial Confidence for High Achieving Women podcast. I hope the insights shared in this episode have inspired you to take one small action step toward a more empowered relationship with money. If you're ready to take control of your finances like the rich bitch you are, I invite you to book a 90-minute Organize Your Money Honey intensive with me. You'll walk away with a crystal clear financial plan, a budget you'll actually stick to, and actionable steps to start saving and investing faster. Head to the link in the show notes to book your spot. I'm so grateful to be part of your financial journey, and I can't wait to see all the incredible moves you'll make. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.